She was already waiting on my porch when I pulled up the dirt road. Arms crossed, sunglasses on, lips tight like she was the sheriff of the world. "You can't be here," she snapped before I could even grab my bag. "This cabin is part of our HOA now." I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her calm, letting her anger spill into the quiet mountain air. She shoved a paper into my hand, some fake HOA notice with bold letters, "Violation, unauthorized occupant." My stomach twisted, but not from fear. She stepped closer, pointing her finger at my chest. "I'll call the cops if you don't leave tonight. You're trespassing." I could hear the crunch of gravel under her shoes as she moved, trying to box me in like I had no way out. For a second I almost laughed, but instead I kept my voice low. "You really think this is your valley?" Her face changed, confusion flickered, then anger doubled. "This whole area is managed by us. You don't follow the rules, you don't stay here." She waved her phone like she was dialing 911, but I caught the tremble in her hand. That was the first crack. Inside, my pulse was steady. She had no idea what she was stepping into. No clue about the documents locked away in my truck. No clue who she was trying to push out. And as the wind whistled through the pines, I just said one line that made her blink twice. "Karen, I don't rent this place, I own the valley." Her mouth fell open for a second, then she quickly snapped back into character. "No, you don't. That's impossible. This cabin is HOA property now. We've already voted on it." She lifted her chin like the words HOA vote carried the weight of the Constitution. I unlocked the cabin door with my old brass key, the same one my grandfather had passed down. The creak of the wooden frame cut through the silence. Karen's face tightened. "Stop, you can't just walk in there, I'll have you arrested." Her voice echoed through the valley like she believed someone was backing her up. That's when the first squad car rolled up the hill, dust cloud trailing behind. Two officers stepped out, one of them young and eager, the other older, slower, like he'd been down this road before. Karen rushed to them, practically shouting, "He's trespassing, he broke into HOA property, arrest him now." I just stood there on the porch, calm, letting her build her case against herself. The younger cop looked at me, then at the key in my hand, then back at her. "Ma'am, do you have proof this property belongs to your HOA?" he asked carefully. Karen thrust her fake violation notice at him like it was a golden ticket. He read it, frowned, then glanced at me again. I didn't move, didn't argue. I wanted her to keep digging her own hole, and she did. "This whole valley is under our control," she barked, waving her hands at the mountains around us. "He's nothing but a squatter. He needs to be dragged out right now." The older cop shifted his hat back, eyes narrowing. "The whole valley, huh?" he repeated slowly like he was already smelling a lie. I let a smile creep onto my face and finally spoke, quiet but sharp. "Officers, before you go any further, maybe you should take a look at who actually owns this land." Karen puffed up like she'd already won. "Don't listen to him, he's lying. We've been managing this place for years, he just showed up out of nowhere." She grabbed the younger cop's arm, trying to pull him toward me. "Cuff him before he runs." The older cop held up his hand. "Ma'am, step back." His voice was steady, the kind that makes the whole ground feel still. She froze, then scoffed, folding her arms again. "You'll see, he doesn't belong here." I walked down the porch steps slowly, pulling a thick leather folder from my truck. The snap of the buckle echoed as I opened it. Inside were documents, deeds, maps, water rights, everything my grandfather secured 50 years ago. I handed the top sheet to the older cop. He studied it carefully, then passed it to the younger one. Karen leaned in, eyes darting across the paper. Her face paled. This doesn't mean anything. Anyone can print fake papers." Her voice cracked, but she forced a laugh, desperate to sound in control. The cop squinted at her. "This was notarized by the county courthouse. Last updated this year." He tapped the page with his finger. "Says right here he owns the valley, the river, the cabin, everything." Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her bravado slipped, replaced with raw panic. She glanced around like maybe backup would appear out of the trees. Instead, it was just us, the wind, and the sound of the creek flowing nearby. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she and the cops could hear. "Karen, you came to my land, put fake notices on my door, and tried to use these officers to throw me out. Do you know what that's called?" Her lips trembled. You can't do this to me." I didn't answer yet. I let the silence crush her. Karen's eyes darted like a trapped animal. No, this is a scam, he forged it, he's tricking you." Her voice cracked into a screech loud enough to startle a few birds from the trees. The younger cop shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am, you need to calm down." But Karen wasn't calming down. She snatched the notice back from the officer and waved it around like a flag. "Our HOA rules apply here. We already fined him for violations: loud construction, unapproved paint color, illegal fence." I raised an eyebrow. "Funny thing, Karen, that fence, built by my grandfather before you were even born, and the paint, original to the cabin since 1972. The older cop tilted his head, studying her. "Ma'am, did you actually file these violations with the county or just print these off?" That was the crack that broke her mask. She stammered, shuffled, then tried to cover it with anger again. "We don't need the county. The HOA has full authority here." The older cop let out a low whistle and muttered, "Not how it works." I leaned against the porch railing, watching her unravel. "Karen, do you even realize what you've done? You walked onto my land, posted fake notices, called cops under false pretenses, and tried to steal a whole valley with nothing but paper you typed at home." Her face burned red. She jabbed her finger at me. "You're not going to get away with this. I'll get the board. My husband's the president." That's when the younger cop finally spoke up, holding the deed higher. "Ma'am, the only president that matters here is the one on this notarized seal, and it's not your husband." Karen's voice cracked into a shriek. "This is harassment. You're all against me." She whipped out her phone, dialing furiously. "I'm calling backup. My HOA board will be here in 10 minutes, and when they arrive, you'll regret this." The older cop rubbed his temples. "Ma'am, this isn't your jurisdiction. You need to stop digging deeper." But she didn't stop. She paced in circles on my driveway, ranting into the phone. "Yes. Yes, bring everyone. He broke in. He's refusing to leave. Hurry." Her words were sharp, desperate, like she was trying to convince herself as much as whoever was on the other end. I didn't move. I just leaned back on the porch rail, arms crossed. "Karen, I told you, you don't run this valley. You never did." Minutes later, the rumble of multiple cars echoed through the trees. A caravan of SUVs with shiny HOA stickers pulled up, doors slamming as men and women in polo shirts stormed out like a private army. They carried clipboards, cameras, even measuring tapes. One of them barked, "This whole property is out of compliance. We're shutting you down." The younger cop's jaw dropped. "What is this?" Karen marched to the front of the group, grinning like she finally had her army. "Now you see, you can't fight the board. We are the authority here." But her victory smile didn't last long, because I stepped off the porch, pulled another document from my folder and handed it to the officers. This one was different, official, stamped by the county court itself. The older cop raised his eyebrows as he read. "Well, I'll be damned, this isn't just a land deed. This is a restraining order against unauthorized HOA actions on this valley." He looked up at the group. "Says here, filed 3 weeks ago by him." He pointed at me. The board members froze. Karen's grin collapsed. I spoke quietly, each word cutting sharper than her screams. "You came here thinking you own me, but I made sure, legally, that you and your board can't even step 1 foot on my land without breaking the law." The whole valley went quiet except for the sound of the creek rushing in the distance. The HOA army shifted nervously, their clipboards suddenly looking more like toys than weapons. One of them whispered to another, "He really has a restraining order." The panic started spreading like wildfire. Karen refused to back down. She shoved through her board members, pointing at me with a shaking finger. "Don't listen to him. He's bluffing. He's just some squatter with fake papers. None of this is real." The older cop sighed, pulled out his radio, and said loud enough for all of them to hear, "Dispatch, run a property ownership check on parcel 247 registered valley deed." A crackle of static, then a clear voice answered, "Confirmed. Owner is listed as Daniel Hayes. Full valley river rights structures all under his name." The moment the words hit, the board members' faces dropped. A couple even stepped back toward their SUVs, realizing they had no ground to stand on. But Karen snapped. She lunged forward, grabbed the violation notice out of the younger cop's hand and tried to slap it against my chest. "No, you can't live here. The HOA rules say so." That was her breaking point. The younger cop blocked her arm and barked, "Ma'am, stop. You're trespassing and obstructing law enforcement." His hand went to his cuffs. She froze, eyes wide, chest heaving. "You're arresting me for protecting the HOA." The older cop shook his head slowly. "No, ma'am, for lying, for harassment, and for impersonating authority you never had." I stepped closer, my voice calm but cutting through the air like steel. "Karen, you wanted me gone from my own land, but tonight you're the one leaving." Karen's scream echoed across the trees as the cuffs clicked shut. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president's wife. I run this valley." She thrashed against the younger cop's grip, but he held firm, guiding her toward the squad car. The board members looked stunned, shuffling backward like children caught sneaking candy. One man in a navy polo stepped forward timidly. We didn't know the deed was in his name. Karen told us she had all the rights." His eyes darted to me, then down to the ground. "We just followed her lead." I shook my head, voice low but steady. "You didn't just follow her, you trespassed, harassed, and tried to steal land that was never yours." The older cop backed me up immediately. "He's right, this is serious business. Property rights aren't a game, folks. You can't just invent authority." He pointed at their SUVs. "I suggest you pack up and leave before we start taking names." One by one, they retreated. Engines roared to life, headlights cut through the dusk, and within minutes the mighty HOA army dissolved into a caravan of shame rolling down my dirt road. Only Karen remained, locked in the back of the squad car, still spitting venom. "You'll regret this. My husband has lawyers, will bury you." I leaned down toward the window, meeting her wild eyes. "Karen, you already buried yourself. The valley isn't yours to take, it never was." She slammed her fists against the glass, but it was over. The older cop gave me a nod of respect as he shut the door. "We'll take it from here, son. You stood your ground." The gravel crunched under the cruiser's tires as it carried her away. The valley grew quiet again, the way it always was before she came storming in. And for the first time that night, I let myself breathe easy. The stars were breaking through the dark sky when the last set of headlights disappeared down the road. I stood there on the porch, listening to the river cut through the valley like it always had. My valley, my family's valley. For years, people like Karen thought they could take what wasn't theirs, by shouting louder, by faking papers, by bullying anyone who stood in the way. But tonight proved something deeper. Land isn't just dirt and wood, it's history, it's sacrifice, it's the kind of freedom you protect no matter the cost. I walked inside the cabin and ran my hand over the old wooden beams. My grandfather built them after returning from the war. He used to say, "A man's land is his legacy. Never let anyone write their name on it." I finally understood the weight of those words. Outside, the valley was mine again, quiet, untamed, free. The same mountains that watched over my family for generations now watched me. I thought about Karen's last words, about her lawyers and threats. Maybe she'd try again, maybe not, but it didn't matter. I was ready. This land was protected, and so was my family's name. I stepped onto the porch one last time that night, looked across the endless stretch of pine and river, and whispered to myself, "They thought I was just a squatter, but this land proves who I am."